Okay, good morning and welcome to just Daf It. Daf Yevamos here. We're learning Yevamos, Daf Peiches, number 88. It's Erev Shavuos over here. Actually, not Erev Shavuos. Shavuos on Sunday. And for you in America, unfortunately, it's on Monday also. Sorry about the 3-day yontif. It's not so much fun. Today we'll be learning some great halachos. Someone told me before I started Yesh Mutaros on that Pei Dalet. Now the Masechta gets easier. Beginning of the Masechta was very hard. Now it gets easier. Well, today not exactly so easy. We're talking about edus. Basically, the idea that the Mishnah says that you're allowed to remarry based on one witness's testimony that your husband died. We'll see exactly the reason for that. The Gemara goes into that, and based on that, we're going to talk a lot about edus, 1 2 aids, edim that are kosher, edim that are puzzle. And in Iyaz Ben Sion, I'm sure you're sticking around for that. We're going to clarify big klalim, big general principles when it comes to Yediyah, Birur, Safek, Hanhagab, Torah, Safek, 3 different categories of how we act when we're besafek. I'll tie it into the Constitution, beyond a reasonable doubt. Chazakas, you don't want to miss it. I mean, this is fundamental stuff for yeshiva, shas. So if you want to go to yeshiva, or if you just want to listen to my shiur and not go to yeshiva, listen to the shiur. Big fundamental. You don't have to go to any yeshiva. I'm telling it to you right now. I'm giving you the facts. All right, let's go on. So let's start. Not go on. We're starting. The Mishnah on the bottom. Not the Mishnah. The Gemara on the bottom. Pizayin Beis, about 6 lines from the bottom. Midaraisa Minolan. How do you know that an Eid Echad is believed? We're assuming that the Mishnah says they believe Midaraisa from the Torah. That's the reason they believe in Eid Echad. He has Namanas, 1 Eid. And as per our Mishnah, you see that 1 Eid is Naman, to let the woman remarry. There's problems if he comes back. But so the Gemara says, Tanya, the Gemara says that you bring a korban chatas when you realize that you sinned. You ate chalev, you did malacha on Shabbos, b'shogeg, you inadvertently didn't know it was Shabbos, the malacha is aser. If other people tell you that, there's no reason to bring a korban. You might think that if you don't contradict what the Edom say you violated Shabbos, and you say nothing. Potter. Talmud Lomer or Hoda Ilav Mikol Maka. Hoda, the word Hoda is not saying Yada, it says Hoda, it's known to you. So Ilav means sounds like you have to know it yourself, but Hoda means be known to you. So what's that talking about? So that Hoda Ilav is talking about where you're not machish to them, where you're not contradicting the Edom. If the Edom come and say you violated Shabbos, and I say no, I didn't violate Shabbos, so you don't have to bring Korban Chatas. But if you're not machish them, if you don't protest and you don't contest them, so then you would bring a korban. What's the case? If that's what we're talking about now, 2 Edom came and said you violated Shabbos, and he didn't say anything. Kral Amali. I mean, that's obvious. We know there's a concept 2 Edom are believed. They have credibility. 2 Edom, towards Birur, they clarify 100%, or maybe not 100%. Talk about that. They clarify beyond a reasonable doubt what the truth is. So you don't know pasuk. Allah Chad must be talking about 1 aid comes and says you ate chalev or you violated Shabbos. And when he doesn't protest, he doesn't argue with him. He's believed the Eid Echad the mechayev korban. Shmamina Eid Echad naman. See, one is believed to make you chayev chatas. So believes in chayev chatas. Also believed for Eid you should let you remarry. Well, the Gemara says, how do you know? How do you know the Eid Echad is believed? Maybe it's because he says you violated Shabbos. That guy is silent. Why is he silent? You're silent. We'll talk on Bava Metzia. Silence is equivalent to admitting. You know what happened. You know the Shabbos, and you're silent. Obviously, it sounds like you're admitting it. It's not because the Eid Echad Eidus, it's because you're admitting. Here in our Mishnah, we're talking about the woman remarrying based on the Eidus of a person that said he died. She has no way of knowing if he died, so her shtika is not called up. So there's no proof. Teda, Kazani, how do you know this is true? The Seifa, this price says, Amru Shirayim Achalta Chaylev. Instead, it was 1 8. 2 people say 8 Chaylev. He denies it. Potter. Rabban say he's potter. He's makish them. Meir al chayiv. Meir says no, you're still chayiv. Meir kal amar. Meir kal vachomer. Meir shine le misa chamura. Right? If two people bring Eidah, say you're Machal Shabbos, b'mezid against our Hasra, we warned you, and he denies it, and still the Shtei Eidim are believed over his denial. Lo yivuyul de korban akal. Certainly, when it comes to korban chatas, which is much less severe than actually capital punishment, he's believed. Amrul, the Rabban said to Ma'im Yisrael Omer Mezid Ayisi. Technically, you're right. Kal v'chomer makes sense. However, he has a migu. We'll talk about migu more. Migu, everyone's favorite topic. Migu. He could have got out of this and said he would have been believed if he said Mezid Ayisi, meaning I not violated Shabbos for Shogeg, I violated Mezid, in which case you pop yourself from a carbon. You only bring a carbon, you're doing chatas. Since he has a migu, so therefore, based on he could have said something, he chose to say something else. Mechayev himself, we believe him. He has nemanos for what he said, and that's why the Baran said. So the Gemara says. So Reisha, my time Rabbanan. What's the reason Rabbanan are Mechayev in the Reisha? Now we're Shtayim with 1-8. Ilay Mishum de Behemin. If you'll say it's because the Eid Echad is believed. V'atrei ba'alma da'avagav the kamakish l'hu inu mehemni v'kapashi Rabbanan. It would come to 2 Eidim, and he's arguing with the Eidim. They're believed. Normally, in normal circumstances, 2 Eidim are believed, though even the person objects to what they said, the person guilty. And the Rabbanan still a pater. Ella mishum ishtik must be the only reason in the Mishnah, in the Reisha, they're believed, the Eid is believed, is because he's shostek. So we've proved that what in the Reisha is talking about it's not because the Eid Echad is believed. It's because of Shtika Chauda Damya, because he was silent and he knows, obviously, it's a reasonable proof that he is guilty. El Svarihi. So the reason of our Mishnah, it must be a Svara. Midi, unless you have a piece of meat, you don't know if it's kosher or not kosher. Chaylev, if it's forbidden fats, now to eat it. Asa, right? Fats are normally good, but chaylev, certain fats are not good. If you have marbling and a good steak, it's very good. It makes the steak very juicy and enjoyable. If you have fats in the wrong place, like in the liver and things like that, too much fat in the liver, it ruins the meat. So you're not sure it's a kosher piece of meat or a non-kosher piece of meat. I'll say echad to the point where it's not just nevela, which is a lav, it's chaylev, which is right forbidden fats, which is more severe chayav kares. I'll say echad Amar. Barili the Shumanu. 1-8 comes and says, no, I know for sure that it's kosher, it's not chaylev. The Mehemet, so the Eid Echad obviously believed. The Gemara says, me dummy, Hasam lo it chazik isura. There the Eid Echad is believed because there's no chazak, there's no status quo over there. We don't know, no one knows what the status of this meat is. Hakla is chazik isura, the ish. Here we know, everyone knows she's been married previously. We don't know if the husband died. So if the husband died or not, that's a different story. So an Eid Echad believe to change the status quo. That's what we're trying to figure out in the Mishnah. So how do you know that? When you want to change the status quo in Arayos, you need 2 Eidim. The case must be similar in our Mishnah to a case where everybody knows that it's for sure chaylev. And 1-8 says, no, I know it's kosher. Obviously, he's not believed. It's just like our Mishnah. The status quo is it's chaylev. He can't contradict it and say it's kosher. Midami hasam. The rest says you can't compare it to that case. Hafilu asu beimei. You 100 people kayla. More than 1-8, 2 Eidim, 100 Eidim. It doesn't make a difference. You know, it's known. You watch the cow being slaughtered, and you saw that it's chaylev. It's yediyah, alluding to Ingrid Ben Sion. It's fact. Yediyah, it's common knowledge. Common knowledge is fact. We treat it as fact. So if common knowledge is fact, so even 100 Eidim wouldn't be believable. All Eidim have the capability of clarification. The mouth does not trump the mind. Common knowledge is much stronger than proof from your mouth. The mouth is lower than your head. So the Gemara says, "Mi dami hasan filo asu be'meila mehemni haka kevan l'chi asu be'etrei mehemni chad nami lehemni." Here, when it comes to Eidas Isha, where two people for sure believe to change the status quo, so one should be believed also. So the Gemara seems to say you could say that, but it's not clear, right? That one is believed like two. So the Gemara tries another proof. Midi the Havia Tevel Hektish Rekonamos. 1 is believed by the following things: Tevel, to say that the pile had Shumas and Mises removed. Hektish, to say that meat is not hektish. Or konamos is another word for nadarim. Usually nadarim, you compare something to a korban, you answer it like that. So therefore, by nadarim also a person say it's not asr midin neder. Hay tevel echidam. What's the case? If it's the crops belong to him, mishum yad lo sakno. The reason it's believed is not because idachad is neman. It's because of amigo. Because instead of saying he can just go ahead and take off shumas and ma'aseh. So we'll discuss yad is amigo, or it's better than amigo. He could just do it right now, so therefore he's believed. The Acher must be talking about crops of other people. My Kasavar, what does he hold? Ikasavar, Tom Shalom, Ashadal Chavero, we have Mahlogas, Nadara, among other places. If I go and I take off Truma from my crops, and I want to potter the Truma someone else's crop, I take double from mine, I want to potter some of my friends' crops also. Eino Saradas, Baal, you don't have to ask him. Torah Mishallah, you're doing him a favor. Zakal Adam Shalom B'Fanav. You could do credit to someone without their knowledge. It makes sense, right? You're helping them out. Why wouldn't they want that? So therefore, it's the same svara. He could take off the truma for his friend's crop because if you hold that you can't just do credit someone else's field because maybe he wants to do the mitzvah himself. The miskan he says, my friend's crops, I know they have trumas might just taken off. Gufa minol, and how do you know? We have no proof to say that he's believed for a hektish nami. What's the case of hektish? You could just damim, and that's just damim where you sanctified it for the value. Because you could redeem it. Kedushas damim you can redeem. You can say I'm giving him money and chomish, and you can redeem it. Kedushas guf, you matish it to be a korban. Idi day if it belongs to you. You could. Anytime you pledge something to be a korban, you say it's it's type of neder, you could just go to a beis din and have your neder revoked. Right? El the acher must be talking about someone else's korban. I know my friend, he went to a heder nadarim, he removed the kedushas hakuf off the korban. He go from an where do you know that he's neman for such a thing? Konamos nami, in the case by nadarim. If you hold the svara, there's meila, right? Konamos, you compare something, you compare your sitter to korban. So maybe just like karbanos, there's a parsha of meila, right? If you use it for unsanctified purposes, you're chayiv, you ruin a kedusha, and you chayiv pei a chomesh, maybe even a korban. The kedusha's damim nachtalahu. When you use it for unsanctified purposes, it gets kedusha's damim. Mishum diadol those. The one said kedusha's damim, I could redeem it because savra ein meila b'konamos. If you say by konamos, there's no meila. Isser ba'almahu the rachav l'vakatve. It's just an isser. Idide mishum diadol shulei alas. It has similar to kedushas. It's similar to a regular neder, right? A regular neder. If it's not like a korban, you could just go to Torah Nadarim. El the acher must be talking about someone else took a neder on it. It's his object. Amar Rahmana. I know my friend, he did Hadaras Nadarim. He goofed him and where do you know that from? So the Gemara finally answers, what's the rationale behind our Mishnah, the Eidach Neman, for Eidas Isha? They made a chumras at the end, right? If the husband actually comes back, you marry based on testimony of one witness, and the husband comes, Baraglov, the dead person comes back, and we all know, we recognize that he's the former husband. Right? He's not I don't know how to pronounce it, doppelganger, whatever, doppelganger. He's not a lookalike, he's the real thing. They made a lot of chumras in the Mishnah, right? Things which are rabbanan and restrictions they made. Yash can't marry to either of them. She loses the ksuba from both of them. No mizonos, no peiros, all the things in our Mishnah, all the terrible things in the Mishnah. They made very chomer to the person, so therefore they made hakalta ala betchila, so therefore they felt kimekel to rely in the first place on the Eid Echad because she's not going to want she's not going to want to lie. She's gonna make sure Daiko Mitzvah, like the Rishon explained, she's going to try to. The Gemara actually says that she's going to investigate very thoroughly if she can rely on this one witness. She's not going to take any one witness. So it's sort of like one witness plus her research into the matter. So therefore, it's reasonable proof to say that her husband died. So therefore, she's believed. So the Gemara said, "Lichmar v'lo leiko." Maybe we shouldn't make a chomer at the end, and we shouldn't make a kul in the beginning. We should rely on two edim, just like everything else in the Torah. The Rabbanan felt the necessity over here to make a kula to allow her to marry even on testimony of one witness, because it's very stressful for a woman not to be able to be married. She's going to remain in aguna. She's going to remain constricted for the rest of her life because she's an Asian, she can't marry somebody else. We'll discuss more if this is a heter in the coming daf, and we'll heter the oraisa, heter the rabbanon. So the Mishnah says that if she marries based on this testimony of one witness and her husband comes back, she has to leave both husbands. Rav says only if she got married based on the edus of one eid. She got married on the witnesses of two witnesses that he died. She doesn't have to leave her original husband. The husband came back. We know he's the husband, right? So two eidim, what they said, okay, your husband died, but now he came. This is yediyah. This is knowledge, common knowledge. We know this is the husband. He looks like him. He talks like him. He smells like him. He's the husband. What the heck does that help? Of course, you can't remain married to the second guy. The second guy is adultery. No, the Gemara is talking about a case where the guy comes back. That's what Rab is talking about. We don't know. We don't know who he is. We don't trust him. He says he's the husband. We don't know. So if we don't know who he is, so why Eid Echad in the first case in the Mishnah she has to leave both husbands? We don't know yet. There's two Eidim that said we know this guy. We were with him. He traveled overseas, went to Nassau in the Bahamas. We're with him. You don't recognize him. Right? He changed. He got a beard now. He became religious. He from out in Nassau, in Atlantis, in Nassau, the Bahamas. Yosef left his brothers out of beard. His brothers didn't recognize him. They knew he was his brother, and they didn't recognize him because he got a beard, a big, long, red beard, like David Kahana said in my earliest interview. So the Gemara says, so technically we have two Eidim say that the husband died, and two Eidim say this is the husband. Now, who do we believe? V'abba, and once you have Trey V'Trey, V'abba, Aleh, top of Piachanim Beis, Ashram Tolikai. Right? We know that it's a suffix Ashakal right now. So therefore, Ashram Tola, if she's boel him together, the second husband, it's suffix adultery. So a suffix Del Raisa, you go to Chumrah, and you bring a carbon, Ashram Tola, when you violate something, suffix Del Raisa Del Chumrah. You have to bring a korban. This is one of the rayas. That's how the rayas of the chumrah is in the rayas. So you have to bring a korban for it. It's one of the ashamos. You do something that's suffix the rayas. Amar Rav Sheishes Kigon Shnitzis Lechem Eidah. No, there was Trey, but she married one of the Eidim that said that her husband died. He gufa b'ashram tali kaima. So the Eid himself is not responsible for ashram tali because ashram tali is only when you're suffix. If you say barili, if you say I know for sure, I know better than these other two Eidim, so it's no chiyuv to bring ashram tali. Ashram tali has to be brought with your own knowledge and willingness to bring the korban. If you disagree with it, you don't have to bring the korban. So what about the woman? She also, we learned in the previous Gemara, lo yikhu, right? The Yisurim apply both to the man and woman equally when they have engaged in a forbidden relationship. Gemara says, Balmeris barili. She also says barili. I know for sure it's not my husband. Hihachi mailim meimra. What's the chiddush of Rav? I feel Rav Menachem Bar Yossi lo ka'amar el kishavo idem akagnises. We're going to see a machlokas, Renach Bar Yossi and the Rabbanan, when you have Trey V'Trey, he only said his chumrah that she has to be Teitzei when Adam come first and say, make it a Trey V'Trey. And then it's Trey V'Trey, she can't get remarried, and she does get remarried. If she got first got married based on two Adam that said her husband died, and then Adam came and said her husband didn't die, lo amar, we don't say it. The Sanya, what's the brayse? Shnayim omrim meis, Shnayim omrim lo meis. Two witnesses came, you said your husband died, and two say you didn't die. Shnayim omrim is garsha, Shnayim omrim is garsha. A similar case. Two people said you got a divorce, we saw him give you a gerusha, and said, son, Two Edom say we should for sure know you didn't get a gerushin. She can't marry because she has a cheskas eishes. We status quo she can't marry. The Rabbanan hold if she goes ahead and marries, she doesn't have to get a divorce from him because now the status quo has changed. When we die, whether she has to leave or not, now she's married to the second guy. So it's a suffix. She's married to the second guy. We keep the status quo. She's married. Menachem Yossi Omer Teitze. He says no. She still has to get divorced. I'm Menachem Yossi for the second guy. I only say that when the Edom came, the second Edom came and made it a suffix to Doraisa, and then she got remarried after that because he can't change the status quo. Menachem Yossi argues if you did it by Isra, you're not supposed to get remarried. If you had the heter to get married based on the two Edom, and then Edom came and said it did hachasha and it was trey v'trey, how is still Teitze? Then for sure, even Menachem Yossi, the status quo has changed. You are mutter to get remarried to the second guy. You don't have to leave him. So what's the chiddush? Rav's chiddush is talking about the Edom came, and the second kat of Edom came, and then she got remarried. And that's what Rav is teaching you. It's trey v'trey. And he's teaching you not like Menachem Yossi, like the Rabbanon, that even if the two Edom come, the status quo has changed and it doesn't have to leave. Some say time with the nieces of Achach Rav is saying exactly the opposite. The reason she's allowed to stay married to the second guy, she doesn't have to be Teitze, is because she got married, and then Edom came. If it made a trey v'trey, two Edom came and said, no, this is your husband, or two Edom came, your husband didn't die, and then she get married. Teitze, come on, Menachem Yossi. Rav would be aligning his shita with Menachem Yossi. Tell you the halacha is like Menachem Yossi. Meisi of Rava asked the following question. Minaim Shalom the Dafno, if he doesn't want to, talk about a Kohen, he doesn't want to exit a marriage that he's usher to. Or he wants to matame himself. It's Dafno, we physically force him, maybe even give him malchus. We physically beat him up in order to make sure he gets out of this marriage, or he's not matame himself. We force him to do this. What's the case? If you're talking about that she didn't get married to one of the witnesses, V'lo ka'amra barili, right? So, included in this case of a kiddush, is all the cases we've been talking about, where a Kohen is married to a woman who's a suffix. His wife died, right? And the Kohen is marrying a woman whose husband maybe died, maybe didn't die. In the case of trey v'trey, two Edom said your husband died, two Edom say he didn't die, two Edom say we don't recognize it, we recognize him as your husband, and the other Edom say we don't recognize him as a husband. So you have trey v'trey. It's included in this case of Dafno. It's by a Kohen also. If she's not to trey v'trey, and the lo nisis alecha meideha, she's not married to one of the Edom, lo kamar barili, and she's not saying barili. Of course, she has to get divorced. She's kai ba'asham tolo. It's a suffix ashakol. It's trey v'trey. Elav the nises lechan meideh. Must be she married one of the Edom. Kamar barili. She says, no, I know this is my. I know. And she says, I know this is not my husband. The person who came back, it's not my husband. My husband died. It's not dafno, and yet we still force him to get divorced. So you see, even when it's trey v'trey, we still force her to leave. So the answer is Isra Kuna Shani. This price is talking about Kohanim and Mitzvahs Yiseiros. They have more Kedusha. And we have Makom Safek, we forced to get divorced. If I say, my Dafno Be'edim. Dafno doesn't mean that we actually physically force him to get divorced. It just means we physically search. He's a Kohen, we want to search for Edim that prove that the husband is still alive and she can't marry him. We just make more of an effort because he's a Kohen. If I say, a third answer, this Bryce is talking about where the Edom first came that did the hachasha, made it a trey v'trey, and then she got married illegally. Menachem Yossi shita, that the status quo has not changed because he still did an avera, and therefore they have to get divorced. Rav Ashi Amar Milo Seitze Dekama Rav, Anupcha and Rav. Rav says, right? Rav says she doesn't have to leave a marriage. Well, Seitze Meitera Rishon. They're not talking about the second husband. She doesn't have to leave her first husband, right? Because the second husband, she married him. She wasn't sure. It was a suffix sota, so therefore her second husband she has to leave because the first husband came back. So it's adultery with the second husband. The first husband doesn't have to leave because she wasn't really a sota. She didn't really commit adultery. Amazing, only b'shogeg, so she's not a sota. So there's the Hammer Rav Chadazin. Rav said this already one time. Why say a second time? This now we learn a Mishnah coming up. Nisan Shlo B'Rishus Mutar Sla'asar Lo. If she got married Shlo B'Rishus, meaning not Rishus based, meaning based on two Eidim, like we said in the Mishnah, two Eidim said that her husband died, so she's Mutar Sla'asar Lo. She can go back to him. Hammer Rav, Hu Hammer Rav Ha'Ki Yokasa. He says that's a lot like that Mishnah. So when it says Chadam Miklal Chaverta Itmar, meaning you're right, it's basically a repetition. And based on that Mishnah, he said what he said as an Amoraic teaching, just like on this previous daf, he said what he said, and he said what he said, and that was based on what his paskin, or what he paskin the Mishnah, paskin like the Mishnah was based on the statement he said. I don't know which one came first. Basically, it's just one was learned from the other one. Itmar Amar Shmuel has a new opinion. Lo Shalom Shalom Achachasho. Right, the case our Mishnah is talking about a case where she the wife, is not makish, meaning the person that came back. Now he came back, the dead husband came back, right? So she had tasting him, but Shmuel says if she's makish him, if she goes against the husband, if she argues and says it's not my husband, she's not tasting. My asking, what's the case? Two Eidim came and said this is your husband, along with the husband. The husband says I'm the husband, and two Eidim came and said this is your husband. Why do we believe her? You don't believe her against Trey Eidim. El Bachad must be talking about one Eid came and said this is your husband. The reason is because she's believed according to Shmuel, she denies it. Hashas Kateitze. If she was quiet and didn't say anything, she has to be forced out of the marriage. Amar Ula, now, obviously, she's getting married based on at least one aid, right? The Mishnah, she has one aid, so at least she has one aid. So, if she has one aid and she denies it, even if she's shoseka, she's quiet. Ula says anytime the Torah believes one aid, and that's the case in our Mishnah, one aid is believed by Yeguna over here. Say the husband died, it's treated as two aidim. So one aid supporting the husband, saying this is the husband, two aidim. And one aid says it's not the husband died, so that the one aid is treated like two, and two beats one. So the answer is Psuli Eidos. We're talking about the Eidim that come and say the husband is not dead are women. Psuli Eidos. Nechemia says when we're dealing with Psuli Eidos, right? The Torah is machshir over here, women as good Eidim for Eid Echad. They're made a lot of kulas over here. So when you have a lot of Psuli Eidim, you go after the Rov Deos. And therefore you have the two women who are saying it's not talking about one Eid, it's talking about two Eidim. The Chiddush is, even though they're two Psuli Eidos, they're believed like two men, and therefore they beat out the one Eid that supports the woman. Even though, and we wouldn't say Ula's principle, because it's only when it's one and one, so one we treat like two, but when it's two against one, you go with the rove. So when it says, if one aid kosher, meaning let's say a man, a reliable man who's kosher, a Jewish man, and he supported her, even 100 women said that no, like this man is really the husband, and she is contradicting that with the help of one kosher aid. So therefore, all those women are treated like one aid, and Ula's principle applies. So the kosher aid is treated like two, and it beats her out. A woman came to help to support her, to be the aid echad for the woman. Say the husband. What did Nechemia mean to say? Nechemia Omer, Kamakom Shemina Torah Yidachad, Halacha Karov Deos, Asher Shtei Nashim Beisha Achaz, Shtei Nashim Beisha Achad, Aval Shtei Nashim Beisha Achad, Kapalga Opalga Dami. What are we talking about over here? Where the one aid supporting her is one. Basically, we're just changing Rav Nechemia around here, right? All the Eidim are apostle. They're all women. One woman supports the woman claiming that her husband died, and two women are claiming that the husband is still alive. This is the husband. But here we're saying, Ula's principle, we're changing over here. Ula's principle, would even apply by a psul edus, and therefore the one woman supporting the woman claim that her husband died is like two. So it's pago damia, and therefore it's 2 against 2. It's hachasha trey v'trey, and therefore, like we said before, that the status quo, she's an dish, she can't remarry, and that's what Shmuel was saying over here. Where's Shmuel? Right. He says when they're not machasha. Machasha lo say, when she's machashim, she doesn't have to leave because she doesn't have to leave the marriage because it's like trey v'trey. It's like 2 against 2. So she can remain married to her husband because she was married. She has a chazaka of Eishizish. She was married to the original husband. Again, Shmuel is saying she'll remain married to the original husband. I hope you enjoyed today's shir. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.